microphone's not working.
I love it for so many reasons. I had said, I was like, I'm so mad I don't have any white wine.
Me too, man. Although, he doesn't drink white wine. Neither of them do. Well,
Let
he
me
does.
see if I can. Let me see if I can find a beer or something, because I feel like having a drink for this episode would actually be like. I'll be quick though.
I wanted to ooze Robin Williams a little bit. I wanted to give off Armand just a little bit.
Oh, you're definitely giving big Armand. That's why I said I wish I had a sun hat right now, because.
Cheers, brother. Whoa. Look at my face. Oh. Tiny face.
How's it going? It's your boy Tsuku, and we got Skorge here today for another wonderful episode of the Neon Valley Media Club. Very excited to. Oh, yep, we got drinks at the ready. I hope yours is heavy.
Mm-hmm. And you're over
Tyler,
21. Yes.
Would you like to tell the wonderful people today the name of the movie they get to hear about?
Absolutely. Last week, you suggested a film by the name of The Birdcage, a movie I had only heard of.
Joseph, cut in what Tyler's prediction was last week before we go into what this is.
I think it's about a struggling actor who meets a famous artiste and learns from him how to be famous, but in doing that, learns that being famous is not all it quite cracks up to be.
So I was so happy. I was like, he has no idea what the fuck he's talking about.
No, not at all. I don't even think there's an inkling of something I said that you could take away from it.
That's why I was like, he has no idea.
So, all right, before we talk too much about the movie, let's do our thing. Let's give our initial ratings. Now, I want to point something out because I don't know if people aren't aware of how this works. We do give our initial ratings right at the beginning of every episode. Sometimes these ratings change. I would say like half of the time.
At least within a 2-point
ratings,
range, they're usually going to change.
Yes. So if you are a little upset or confused or woe-stricken by our initial reviews and our numbers, those numbers will change, possibly. And maybe not. And maybe we'll explain ourselves about why we feel that way.
Yeah.
So,
and maybe you'll change. Huh?
Yeah.
Did you think about that?
Yeah, maybe you could change.
Why do I always start off with threatening our audience?
I don't know. Yeah, you're very combative. I will say that right out the gate with our audience. They've never said anything to you.
No, they're the nicest people. I'm so sorry, audience.
If anyone's wondering that's watching a video of this why I'm dressed slightly different than my normal attire, it's because of this movie. Robin Williams' character had a certain drip that while of course, these are the only things that I could find in my closet that are even fucking close.
Bro,
I'm gonna start dressing like him.
Miami. I'm not gonna lie. I want to get at least like one or two outfits like that.
Those pants.
It looks so fresh.
Okay, but when he was wearing that white backwards hat with the long, like, what was that, dude?
Dude, like,
couldn't believe it.
Dude, dripping like the faucet on your porch. Let that sink in. Sorry, I had to plug a line from one of my songs.
It's fine, dude. No, of course. Tsuku music. Check it out on Spotify. Let's give our initial ratings before we brag any more about the drip in the movie. Okay. And our rating is.
Wait,
are we saying both of that at the same time?
I thought. Are you? And our rating is 10.
8 out of 10. Okay, you give it full 10. All right.
Yeah.
I'm willing to sway a little bit. It for sure couldn't go down because I don't think there's anything you could tell me that would make this a 7 by any means.
I don't think I'm going to say anything that is really negative about it if I'm giving it a 10. But,
exactly. There's like a few things that really, like, I think the length is one thing that didn't do it justice. I think if it was like, because it's a 2-hour movie. And I don't think it has to be, because like if we're being honest, not much happens in it. It's an incredible movie. Like the acting in it, the comedy is so fucking funny. I gotta bring up my notes. I don't have my notes up right now.
Okay, so why don't you tell people what you thought kind of going into it once it had started and once you're like, okay, now that I'm seeing characters, because I want your initial thought on that beginning. because
Okay,
the beginning
so-
is written very specifically.
Yeah, the beginning. So this is why I was very impressed out the beginning because okay, I should say right when it
Dude,
started.
the intro, the intro over the ocean into the club.
Yes,
I'm sorry, that
I actually
looked
had to look
amazing.
that up because I was confused because
If they
I
had
knew
actually
this
done it
was
with, like,
the
a helicopter?
90s. Well, yeah, because I was like, there's no
It's not a drone.
drones. There's no
Yeah.
like what? So apparently this was 3 shots stitched and morphed together. They had a helicopter flying over the ocean, and then
That makes
then
sense.
they stopped the film, and then had a boat coming up to the land, and then they had the land
Okay.
on a car driving up to the front of the thing, or like a dolly, and then they
'Cause
morphed those 3 shots together. But it's seamless. You can't even tell.
I could not tell you where the breaks are. I could guess that they had probably stitched, but again, I couldn't tell you how many stitches it would have took. I thought it was such a smooth and such a fun transition because you're like, whoa, it feels like you're literally being thrown into this moment.
Oh yeah, the
to
VFX in this
watch.
movie are yeah. It puts you into the story immediately, and like I said, because you're not. I could imagine in the 90s, like with that kind of effect, it's not normal, so you're not really expecting like that kind of movie to like, whoa, this is cool, I'm going over the ocean. And there are a few visual effects in this movie that are really impressive, like the one where there's a car scene. And again, there is a bit of an uncanny valley nature to it because it's kind of green screen. You can kind of tell. But,
Yeah.
but the movie has like almost an absurd nature to it, and the set designs have
Everything
this
feels
like
real. It still feels
flamboyant
real.
nature to it. Yeah, that it's okay that it's kind of weird because it seems to fit with the patterns of the movie. But there's a scene where there's a car. It's when the one car is following the family to South Beach or whatever,
Yeah.
Miami, and it's like you see the car in the distance with a sunrise or sunset behind it, and then the camera's like tracking back, and then the camera enters the back of a car through the glass, and then you're looking at the family, and then it keeps going back and then comes through the front of the glass. And I was like, how did they do that? Like, I mean, yes, okay, I understand, like, we had Jurassic Park by now, but do you know how much technology they had to build for Jurassic Park? You know what I mean? Like
And this isn't a sci-fi movie. This is a fun comedy, which
Yeah.
actually has amazing messages in it.
Yes, which I will say had me a little scared. Because I mean, a movie from the 90s opening up in a drag show, I was like, oh no.
You know what's so funny? That was always the response throughout the entire production of this, of being nervous, how's the American audience? Because I think originally this is like 3 or 4 different levels of being a retelling of a story that is from a French story.
Yeah, it's a stage play, I believe, from the
yeah,
70s.
well,
I was looking into
and
it a little bit.
Yeah, so Le Cage Faux.
Yeah.
But even that,
Folie
I
à
think, comes
deux.
from something. Folie à deux.
No,
Actually, that's-
it's not. That's the Joker movie coming out. I'm sorry.
Gotcha. But Folie might be the correct
It is.
pronunciation.
Yeah,
of
I
that
think
word.
it is. That word is in there.
Le Cage Folie.
Yeah.
But I think even that is derived from another one. And it's interesting because they all had the same undertone of a strong family message with a gay couple that has a kid who's marrying a conservative right-wing family.
Yeah.
And every instance from the original play, the secondary play, the Cage, that was then, offset from
Adapted.
this. Adapted, that's the word. Adapted. And then adapted again for the US market because it was first shown in Boston, the stage play. And even that had like elderly couples like holding their hands. And you're talking about an old white Catholic community.
Yeah.
This movie throughout this story that has been told through this movie, through the stage play and its predecessors, seem to continue to get this great feedback. And I think the best quote I heard from it was the movie was able to use stereotypes to destroy stereotypes.
No, it's
I was
true.
saying like the being the flamboyant gay meant you were still strongly family valued. That couple was a great set of parents that would do anything to take care of their kids.
Oh, yeah.
It doesn't matter who they were. And again, for that level of movie, I mean,
okay, so this is where I will say, like, I was a little worried at first because I thought originally when they're setting up the movie and things are starting, it felt like, just at first, that the gay characters were very gay and the straight characters were straight.
We're normal people.
I thought Robin Williams was straight at first. I only for the first 10, 15 minutes.
Okay,
only for the first 10, you know what I mean? Excuse me. But it was the way he carried himself. That's what I mean. Is like he didn't carry himself. Yes, it wasn't the stereotypical 90s. Oh, honey, kind of what Nathan Lane is doing. But Nathan Lane is fucking amazing. He sells it. That is that character. You know what I mean? Like
yes, that is 100% that character.
Yeah. The only one that you could maybe argue is a little over the top is Hank Azaria, but fuck, he's so funny. The housemaid.
Oh, yeah, but
he's so funny.
Dude, his characters.
One of my favorite fucking lines is when I wrote it down. Is that I never wear shoes. They make me fall down.
Even the way he changes his voice to talk like this.
They make me fall down. That shit. Oh my god. I rewound it like 3 times.
Immediately face plants.
The Spearin was great though.
Patrick Stewart shoes. The Patrick Stewart shoes.
Oh yeah.
Bringing them.
Matthew McConaughey shoes. Yeah.
McConaughey shoes.
Yeah.
Okay. So, man, all right. So before we jump in,
all right. Yeah. You asked me about my introduction thoughts.
Yeah.
Because I think I know where you're going with this, and I will say, incredible. Like, I don't think I've seen a movie in quite a long time, if maybe ever. I must have that had a twist within the first 20 minutes.
Dude, and such a good twist. They hammer it so hard that you're like, okay, so he's kind of a piece of shit. But what I think is crazy is your first thought is to go into, oh, he's mistreating him and
Albert.
I feel like it almost tricks you into being sympathetic towards that flamboyant gayness, right?
Yeah.
Because you're like, oh man, this guy's being totally shady.
Yeah. Oh, and you part of you is even thinking like, is he meeting with a woman? You know, like
it's like, funny is I hadn't thought that, but again, that's another point to bring in, and the fact, oh my god, and then you see the young man,
so
and
to
you're
set
like,
this up, like this. So this guy comes in. He's Robin Williams' character is being accused by Nathan Lane of cheating because they're together,
and he specifically calls out things that he does. He's like, you got white wine, you don't drink white wine, and I don't. Like, he's being while he's flamboyant, he's being very specific and giving like
he's
good
being
examples.
Reasonable. Like, yes, he's being quote unquote hysterical. But,
yes, he's screaming.
Yeah. Which is the theme in the movie that continues. And that was another thing that knocked it down a point, because there was at a certain point, I think there was like 3 hysterical episodes in a row that I was like, okay, all right, come on. Like, it actually
I don't know, dude. I believed it. I thought that was that character.
It was, all right, I don't mean to jump ahead. The only time it didn't work for me was when they just had that moment where Robin Williams brought him back from the bus stop, and everything was kind of starting to get better. And then he comes into the room with the suit, and then he's just like, you hate it. You hate me. I knew it. And then leaves and like kind of starts an episode immediately after we just resolved the bus stop scene. That was the only part where I was like, oh, come on. We just
I have a question
this.
Though. Are you telling me you've never met somebody like that?
Of course.
And that's where it's like, I'll give it this. Even if it's annoying, that's a real person. Like,
the movie does it well. I think it's just the pacing of a movie where you're just kind of like, oh, we just did this scene. That's more of where I'm coming from. But again, as far as a character thing goes, but that feeds into more of the length. It's like, well, we just didn't even need that scene, really, you know, or like you could have cut it down to something that was, because in what I get this vibe of, which makes sense because like you had said, when I looked into it and found out it was a stage play, made so much sense because there aren't many locations. So you're on a stage play, you know, you need easily be able to rotate out stage sets and things.
A lot of scenes are happening. Yes. Like a full multi-minute at one scene.
A lot of dialogue, heavy dialogue, of course, you know, like because it's a stage play and all this stuff. And even the way they were talking and then certain scenes, the way they played out, I was like, this feels like I'm watching a play. But in a way, it kind of did it a disservice for me because I felt like scenes were being a little too drawn out. I felt like things like could have been consolidated to tell the story a little bit snappier. But again, it's still such a beautiful story when it's said and done and everything is told that it's hard for me to even really tell you, oh, cut out this part. Don't put this part, add this. I don't really have an opinion for that. It's just that vibe I got. It's that feeling of like, okay, this is longer than I think it should be. I don't know. But okay, so he's accusing him of cheating on him. Robin Williams' character is cheating, quote unquote. So he comes back to his apartment. He pours some red wine or white wine. We've been taking 20 minutes to get to this reveal of the twist. What was it?
Okay. I was just gonna say, because one of the funniest things happens. So he's being super hysterical, and Agador is like, "I'll get you your print pill. Don't worry."
Yeah,
and so Albert's like, "What are you giving him?" And then afterwards they walk out and Albert's like, "Oh, thank God I have my print pills. As long as I have my print pills, I'll be okay." And Armand's like, "What are you giving him?"
Yeah, he's like, "You're giving him fucking pills? What's Pirin?"
Yeah, and he's like, I just rubbed the A and the S off. It's aspirin.
It's like genius. Oh, it was I did cry laughing when Robin Williams screamed, "Abra la puerta!" and just ran into the door. That fucking killed me. Like, that was so funny. And then Nathan Lane screams at the top of his lungs. Yeah, the physical comedy. It was so good. Okay, so anyway, so let's get to this twist here. The young man comes in, and when they first introduce, he kisses him. They go and sit down, and there's this kind of moment where the younger guy goes off to sit somewhere, and Robin Williams kind of strokes his hair, but he's kind of like he's a little off put by it, and you're like, whoa, is there tension? And then he says, "Listen, I'm going to tell you something, but you just can't act like you." And he's like, "Okay, you could tell me anything."
So clearly they have a history. This isn't like a one-time thing.
Yeah, and he's like, "Well, I'm getting married." And it's like, whoa, so he was a side piece for this younger guy? Oh shit. And he's like, "You can't do this. You're only 20. And then I wrote
and
20. So my notes I wrote only 20. And then out of nowhere he goes, "Yeah, Dad." And it was like, wait, he's fucking his dad. And then you stop and go, oh, wait, nothing they did was sexual at all.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
okay.
because the kiss, I was like, oh, I'm misremembering.
It's kind of on the cheek. Yeah.
And the stroke of the hair. My dad has touched my hair before.
Yeah, like, even like, again, I think like even
he's a little more
like,
personal. And he obviously is a little more touchy-lovey, and not in a bad way. I just mean like, as a father.
Yeah, he's clearly an affectionate father in the movie.
Yeah, what an incredible twist. But here's the thing. The only thing that undermined that twist was the underminer that's brought up immediately after that. Because you cut from that scene and I was like, wow, what a fucking incredible twist. And then it hard cuts to the dad going, "Married? You're not even 18. And I like spit out my fucking drink.
Dude, that was one note where I was just like...
I was like, okay, wait, hold on. France in the 70s. Keep telling myself, France in the 70s. France in the 70s.
But I will say, because between this scene, right, and the scene of them going to visit...
they say she's 18, right?
They say she's 18.
Right? What was that about? Was it her birthday?
So I don't know if her birthday happened in a couple days or she was...
I noticed that too. I was very confused by that.
Because there's a discrepancy, I'm gonna say that maybe was like a typo or something in the script, and assume that they weren't saying that like, oh, this guy's like into younger women, because then she's like, yeah, we've been like sleeping together for a year, and I'm like, that doesn't help anything.
Yes, because that means 16. So like he was 19, she was 16. Like, okay, well, hold on.
But then they say she was 18, and then I'm like,
all right, yeah, no, it was a bit weird.
But I will say this. They don't talk about her being in high school. They say they met in school and he's clearly in college. So
yeah, it must be her first year in college again, or something.
So it's one of those, this movie doesn't give any indication that that's where they were trying to go with it.
And again, the schooling system probably works different in other, like in the 70s in France, you know what I mean? So it's like they didn't even really bring up grade or like what, because they're just like, that's not important. They're just old enough. Don't worry, but young enough where you think they shouldn't get married. Oh, they're too young. You know, that's a fair point.
Again, like that sounds about right. And so again, that aside, because that I was almost like, does that make it a 9? But I was like, okay, if they didn't mention their ages and they were just young adults,
yeah,
I was like, and that's where I was like, this movie doesn't give any indication that has anything to do with anything.
No,
and so I just disregarded.
That's not really what took it down for me. I won't say, like, I don't think that's included in my subconscious for bringing it down, because again, like, I don't, in context of the film, it's not them trying to promote underage marriage or something. You know what I mean? Like, that's not really the point.
But that was my one of my notes was, I do not remember her being under 18.
Yeah. And I thought it was hilarious that she hears the phone when Robin Williams like
breaks it.
And then like
shit.
And you can't even hear what she says, but he just goes, "No, that's not your toast. I broke the fucking glass."
I also love like the interaction of him being like, all right, well, I won't approve and you'll just have to leave. And he's like, all right, well, I guess that's goodbye, Dad.
Yeah.
I guess goodbye, son. And he's like, you called my bluff.
You almost had me. Yeah, it was pretty good this time. Yeah. No, the father-son dynamic is really good. And it almost is weird. I don't want to harp too much on that twist, but I do love how they were able to play with your perception, because because all I ever saw him from there on out was his son. I never saw it as anything else. But in that first 5 minutes, I'm like, man, he's fucking that twink. You know, why did I think that? That's so, I mean, I get why the movie made me think that, but it's so impressive. So, okay, to set up the rest of the movie so we can kind of get through this, the whole plot is essentially Robin Williams and Nathan Lane's son is getting married to a girl who is part of a conservative right-wing family, like you had mentioned before.
Yep.
And they're coming for dinner.
And he's a senator.
And he's a senator. And they're coming for dinner, and they want Nathan Lane and Robin Williams to just tone down the gay, is kind of the idea.
In terms of the kids, the parents don't know it, and that's why the kids want them.
Yeah, the kids are fine on it. Yeah, of course. Which, again, that was a note that brought me down a point. There is, and again, this is kind of near the end. It was during that scene, actually, where Nathan Lane is wearing the suit, and he's just like, you hate me, and you're embarrassed by me, and all that stuff. Because I did feel empathy for him. I did genuinely feel like, yeah, that has to suck. Like, you're just yourself. That's the whole point. But that's where it kind of threw me off, is that I wrote down, I know that the son really doesn't want to mess things up with his girlfriend, but I also find it strange that he didn't adopt any of their mannerisms and sees them through the eyes of like a typical straight person, even though he was raised by them for 20 years. Like, they're his parents. So like, why does, like, I understand that he's like, well, you need to tone this down for this, but like, you're telling me he doesn't, like, I don't know. There's just this level of like, he feels like a kid who was adopted at 16 or something. He doesn't feel like a kid who was literally raised by two gay men.
Well, here's the thing. I think that is having an expectation that being raised by gay people will mean you're more likely to have gay.
Oh, no. Well, okay. No. Being raised by personality types will make you a certain personality type.
Well, even you said you thought the dad might have been straight, actually, and seen a woman.
I mean, I guess only in the first... Only in that first scene, or you know what I mean? Like, just in the way the movie was trying to trick you.
Again, he wasn't somebody who acted hysterically to things. Even like...
That's fair. Like, he related more to the dad side. I say dad.
Exactly.
But, you know.
Exactly. I think he definitely... And I mean, he was his son. So a lot of the mannerisms make a lot more sense, because like that is...
That's fair.
Where, yeah, if you have two parents that have different dichotomies, you might lean more towards one way. And I think, and it had bothered me the way that he had responded towards it, but it made sense for a 20-year-old who's also trying to get married, because he's an idiot if he's 20 years old and trying to get married.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, of course. Yeah, it's kind of already set up that, yeah, maybe it just didn't feel...
Because I think it made those scenes like, with Nathan Lane in the suit, those scenes hurt.
Oh,
and yeah. I think it wouldn't have hurt if he hadn't have been so pushy, because I think the reveal also becomes bigger of him being like, the fuck am I doing? This is so kind of fucked up. Because I started to actually really not like him. But I think it was by design.
The kid.
Yeah, Val. Val, the son.
Yeah.
Yeah, he really becomes an asshole because he keeps pushing. And then like when he tells him, Mom, oh no, still come, I was just like, I'm very disappointed in you.
Yeah. I didn't understand that. Well, I did understand it. I can understand his character doing that. But I agree where I'm like, they have to do something to make him redeemable. And they kind of do. I think they do very well. I think that ending scene where he tells them that I have one mother, this is my mother. He's talking about Nathan Lane, and goes,
Yep.
This is a very beautiful scene. Again, I think it's kind of like a little too late, because like you were saying, they did so much to make me not like that character that even though it's a beautiful sentiment and a great scene, I'm also still just kind of like, because I thought it was kind of a silly story beat that they literally had to change that entire house. Because again, I can imagine on a set, on a stage, it's a perfect set design thing because you already had to put everything up anyway. So it's like, oh, you're just taking it down and then you move it off. But the idea of a house being completely renovated for one night, how much did that cost? Like, how much did that cost them?
You know what makes more sense? They filmed that to begin with before they put everything in it.
Oh, not even cost of filming. I'm saying for them as a family to agree to take down everything. Like, could you imagine going to your parents' house and being like, hey, Mom, Dad, could you take down literally all of the decor you've spent 5 years posting up and like large statues that weigh hundreds of pounds? And, like,
I will say this. He clearly had a lot of money. Like,
yeah. This is one of those movies that if TikTok got a hold of, they would be like, dude, have you guys seen this pro drag movie from the 90s?
How much love it, like, so what's funny too, when Robin Williams was they were showing a trailer for this movie at the beginning of like another movie, and he was sitting in the very back row, people were booing the trailer. But again, I think when you get a little bit of a glimpse, you have an expectation of what it's going to be.
Yeah.
And this movie delivers to you so much more for something so funny. Like at one point, they're trying to practice getting Nathan Lane to pretend to be more like a man. So Robin Williams tells him, "Well, walk like John Wayne." And he does this like
God.
He does this like little walk, and he looks at this lady. Howdy, ma'am.
And Robin Williams is just silent. And then he's like, "What? Is it bad?" And he's like, "No, it was actually really good. I just didn't realize John Wayne walked like that." I'm sorry, in that same kind of montage where he's teaching him how to be a man, and when he comes up to him and he's like, they're doing the talk conversation about, hey, how's that Dolphins game? He's like, oh man, I was disheveled, betrayed, or something like that. And Robin Williams looks at him and he's like, was that bad? And then Robin Williams goes,
oh, he's like,
I don't know.
Yeah, the part where he realized, oh, I don't know sports.
He's like, wait,
either.
I'm gay too. Like, he finally had the realization that he's a gay man teaching him how to be straight. So he's like, oh, I really don't know.
I actually,
Oh my God. No, that was so funny.
Again, the comedy, the way this was able to, again, use stereotypes to break stereotypes. And man, I really love the commentary about like, we're part of like the caucus for moral.
Oh my God. The order of morals, something code.
And then it's like, oh, he was found in bed with a prostitute. Oh, she was an underage prostitute. Oh, she was an underage black prostitute. Yeah. And
no,
it's just
not even that. It's the way he goes, underage, black.
Oh, yeah. And it's because they want to emphasize how right-wing this guy is.
Yes.
Again, the point is that this is an awful person who has very jaded opinions. And what's even better is when he meets the family, Nathan Lane's character ends up stepping in as the mom. He dresses up like a woman.
Goes full drag.
He is just absolutely smitten with her to the point that when
he loves her.
Armand and Albert leave the room, he's like, he treats her so badly. And even his wife is like, why the fuck do you care so much?
Oh, when he says that shit where he's like, and he's the one in the kitchen barking orders to that freaking Armando or Argando. Yeah. Spartacus.
Spartacus.
No, I did want to say from a scene earlier that fucking with with Robin Williams when he's showing him how to dance. When the one guy's like, well, what am I supposed to do? Just stand here and look pretty? He's like, no, I want you to be out there. Boom, boom, Tyra. And he's doing it. And then when he goes, Madonna, but keep it all inside. Okay. But like, it was the but keep it all inside that fucking killed me. Like when they first tell Albert that he can't come to the dinner and he just, what does he say? He's like, okay, all right. The monster, the freak is leaving. You're all safe now.
And then he's like, I came to grab my toothbrush and then I'm leaving. I'm going to the cemetery. And he's like, why do you need a toothbrush if you're going to a cemetery? Like
just throws it over his shoulder.
Mod would just constantly like poke holes in the ridiculousness. And
yes. Oh god, it was great. Like, oh my god, and when I think it was in that scene, Hank Azaria is wearing a shirt that just says straight looking. Oh my god, it's so fucking funny, man. Okay, that's okay. So we're getting to the scene. So we didn't really mention there is that kind of. There's the senator is going through a scandal, quote unquote, of sorts, where one of the people he started this coalition with for moral order, Jackson, he died from a prostitute, an underage African American prostitute that he called chocolate. He said, what did he say? The money's on the table, chocolate. I think that's what and then they turned off the radio.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. But, and again, like it's like this movie knew exactly how to toe that line of proving to you how absurd those people, like that side of the, like can be, you know what I mean?
Yep.
Like that is just it. I mean, it sounds ridiculous, but that is shit you would hear on the radio in the 90s. You would hear on the news in the 90s. And yeah, in the moment, actually, when you said when he's going to the cemetery and, is it Argando? Was that his name? I just know him as Hank Azaria. And Spartacus.
Agador.
When he's crying on his shoulder and he's like, oh, you can have everything. No. And he's like, take my red boots. I don't want it. He just quietly I don't want it.
You don't want it. The wigs?
Which wigs? Which wigs? Yeah. It's like, man, there's some fucking, I know we're probably, this whole review will just be us reciting the funny parts from the movie. I'm trying to find moments where
there's so many.
There are. I'm trying to figure out like cinematography or acting moments we can talk about or scene selections or, okay, there is a stupid part. There is another stupid part. But again, this is like the 90s technology thing. Again, this is one of those things. You might know exactly what I'm about to say. But it's when they're in the TV studio and one of the news reporters is like, hey, boss, come check this out. We zoomed in about a half a mile behind this reporter and were able to hear the audio clearer than the reporter themselves and pick up that, like, what? It's like a zoom enhance moment where I'm just like, stop. Like
that's one of those, like, it was like the Truman Show's enhance. Enhance more. It's
give me 4K quality, damn it.
Again, my favorite thing is I just picture the guy in the editing room or the lady in the editing room that's just like,
how does this work? How was this supposed to work? Yeah, because I guess they just had to figure out a way to get the rest of the news reporters to Miami because they were like, well, how will this information spill? And it's like, oh, well, what if he caught it on camera? And it's like in that moment when you come up with that idea, it's like, oh, that's a good idea. But when you actually think about the technicality of it, and it's like, what microphone picked them up? What? How did you hear them?
Because I'll tell you what, this isn't going to pick up a children's toy held in front of it. That's
Apparently
for
not.
sure.
No. And if you need reference for that, make sure to go watch 2 episodes ago on the Neon Valley podcast. Okay, so either way, he's going through this controversy because he's part of this moral order. He's a very right-leaning conservative. I'm being attacked right now. He's a very right-leaning conservative, and they're going to dinner, and he's almost using the dinner as an excuse to like escape for a little bit. And there's 2 reporters who track down where he's going to be by paying off their driver, which he made bank. He just kept sitting there being like,
money.
Couple hundred. All right, yeah, I got you. They're right there. Like he had no problem revealing all information.
It made me think of another thing, and I think it's just being like in the working world. I'm like, are like just like everyday journalists really like jumping in a car and then following somebody hundreds of miles and then like staying multiple days on the like maybe they are.
Who's paying for
but
that?
like
Yeah.
that's that I'm like, bro, clock
they
out.
did
Go
say,
home.
although to be fair, they did say Inquirer, which is like at that time was one of the biggest like
Okay.
newspapers. Again, it was one of the tabloids, so they always posted shit where it was like Tom Cruise marries Bigfoot,
and then they might actually have a story. Yeah. So, but again, those are kind of like little things where it's like, all right, if you take everything that's a real world application, like you can tear any movie apart in some way.
Yeah, it's for comedy's sake. You know what I mean? Like that.
Yeah, this was a comedy that also had a really great message underneath it.
Yeah, the moments when Nathan Lane is acting as the mother of the family are so great, when she's just playing up this character of like a very conservative wife, but also can't help but push back on some of the things that he's saying, because they are fucking... And it's crazy to think we're still having this conversation, right? Like this movie almost feels like it could come out today.
And that's what I think is crazy, right? Because again, this is a play adapted from the 1970s.
Yeah.
Like this is still a relevant thing. And these are the kind of things when people say, discrimination and things like racism still exist. It is. And the fact that movies like this are relatable still of taking again, when I say stereotype, even if you want to take the right-wing conservative extremist stereotype, tell me that doesn't feel like how it gets portrayed in the media. Like this is still very much a relatable movie, and I gotta give the original whoever originally adapted this screenplay
incredibly ahead of their time.
Fucking genius. Like I would love to like just see what else they wrote and created, because again, to have that much forward thought, because a lot of this is very much translated as almost like a one-to-one from that original, and I see why.
Oh, and yeah, I mean it's perfect the way it is. There was a moment that I didn't really... You pointed it out when the son answers the phone and is like, "No, you can come," and then Robin Williams kind of catches it and is like, "Did you just tell her she can come?" And all that. And he goes, and the son says something along the lines of, "It's my mother. I couldn't tell her not to come. My brother in Lutheran Christ. She hasn't been in your life for literally the entire 20 years. What are you talking about?" Like, I didn't understand that.
I almost felt like at that point it was just more about a desperation. He felt like things were getting worse, because he even mentioned like, it's getting harder to restrain her from talking about certain things. The wig is coming off, and I think the thing that makes it make sense is the way that he was just like, "This is my mom."
I think the phone thing, that's before he even comes out, right? I think, doesn't he tell her to come before Nathan Lane even comes out in the wig? Because then later it's them trying to keep her from coming inside, because they're like, "Oh fuck, she's on her way here," and Nathan Lane decided to pull this shit. I keep calling him Nathan Lane. Albert decided to pull this shit. So it was like right before that he decides to do the
That's right. Which kind of, at least that makes a little bit more sense than, because again, he was like, "Oh, we don't have someone to play the part now."
He's desperate. Yeah, I agree. I agree.
Yeah,
I guess maybe the idea is he was lying as well to his dad. Like he didn't really feel like he was using the family angle against him, because Robin Williams' character is very much for family.
Yep.
One of my favorite parts is when they're in the kitchen and he's talking to Hank Azaria, Robin Williams, and he comes back into the dining room and he's like, "Okay, things will be fine. Things can't get much worse." And then right when he walks in, you just hear, "Oh, of course, it's very wrong to kill an abortion doctor." And then Robin Williams like almost faints.
But why not the mother?
Oh my god, yeah. I think we should just go straight to the source and kill the mother.
I mean, the baby isn't gonna go anyways. Let it go down with this shit. It was just like,
it's incredible. And I don't know how that clip isn't going around on TikTok. Like, I'm just saying, like, that shit is so funny.
And then we don't have an entree. It's peasant soup.
It is the entree. Why do you think there's so much in it? there's insane lines in this movie, man. It's unbelievably quotable.
I've lost and gained over 100 pounds in the last year.
I went from a size 12 to a size 17
10 to a 16.
Back to a 16.
Oh, and at one point the dad's talking about, maybe we go on an interview, we talk to somebody, they're like, what about the Pope? He's too controversial. It's like somebody's like too liberal, too dark, also too liberal.
Or when all the news reporters are surrounding his house, so he goes out the back window, but he's on the ladder, and then they're all like, "Oh, there he is!"
Answering questions.
He's just on.
Yes.
My favorite part is that he ended the questions with, "All right." Did the Reagan
Nixon?
or the Nixon thing? Sorry, I did the. Oh my god, it's so fucking funny, man. I guess we could kind of wrap this up here. We're at this point, we're just kind of gushing about the funniest parts, and like
the ending resolve, we'll say, is the first part of Val the son realizing, oh no, Nathan Lane, you are my mom. I shouldn't have tried to hide who you are. Them understanding it, and then it becomes the senator's like, all right, well now we need to leave, and the one thing I hope
he's very adamantly against it. Like the dad is just like, oh whoa, this is nope.
Well, we can't,
because the big reveal happens. Yeah.
So he immediately turns on the family, pretty much like, well, I can't have anything to do with you guys. And I was disappointed in like the fact that the daughter chose not to be like, no, I'm standing with them. They are better parents than you two ever were. She ends up caving and just being like, well, okay, mom and dad. And I was like, all right, well,
let's just remember, she is just a 17-year-old tiny little baby.
No, she's 18 by that scene. By that scene, she's 18.
No, I think she's just a little baby, Mitchell. I don't think
she ages faster than most adults, Tyler. You wouldn't understand.
But no, it does kind of make sense. I mean, like if you're 18, you just turned 18.
Yep.
Your future is unquestionable. Yeah, it's a little
But the nice thing is, and again, this is another place where this movie strikes back that like the value of morals is, even though Armand and Albert now have nothing to gain after protecting and hiding them, because they know Val cares about her, what they say is, we'll sneak you out through the club, we'll dress you in drag, and then when everybody's leaving, you guys will all walk out in drag and nobody will ever suspect that you would be dressed. And again, it's beautiful because the senator has to then go through the process of dressing in drag, and he gets the help from, and I kind of like the way that they end it, because they get them outside, they successfully get them out. Val's biological mother is the one that drives them off, and it just ends there. There's no additional explanation.
Well, they show a wedding in the credits.
Oh yeah, which is funny because the wedding is the one half of the conservative family side that is all
which one's the father and which one's the mother.
And then the other side is the fun side, clearly.
Yeah.
But again, I love this movie. I remember, I think I saw it. I might have been in high school, and in like one of my art classes, I think the teacher had put it on, and maybe that wasn't it, because I feel like this movie might have been a little bit too PG-13 for that, but it was.
Oh, it's R. I actually was confused at some point. I had to look up if it was rated R because there was just boobs on the beach at some point.
Is R.
Yeah. Well, while they're on the beach, this woman just walks by the back of them topless, and I was like, "What the fuck? What? Wait!" And because there's nothing like that in the rest of the movie. It was just they were just, we're in South Beach. There's a topless woman, whatever. And there's like a bunch of fucks. They say fuck a lot, and prick and cock and the FAG word. They do say, but again, in context and hilariously, like they work with the jokes. And the final line of the movie, literally the last line of the movie is, "Lady, not for $1 million." And like,
yep, because the senator tells his driver, "Meet me at this location," and he doesn't recognize him. He thinks it's a drag queen, and
it's funny too, because I almost don't know if he's fucking with them, or, and again, I know this doesn't really matter. It's not the point of the ending, but I'm not even really sure. Is he fucking with them, or did he just genuinely like not recognize them?
I think
and he's
he
like,
genuinely didn't recognize.
Because I almost thought he was making a joke about what happened with Jackson. I do like that ending. It's insane, but again, it almost doesn't feel like an end to a movie. Because you don't get that moment where it's like he learned his lesson, and even though that's real life. You know what I mean? Like, that's in real life. People don't learn their lesson that night, and then it's like, oh, I'm a better person now for the rest of my life. But that's usually what a movie does, so that's what threw me off. It's like, oh, this does feel like a stage play, you know?
Well, I think, like, this movie did a good job of making the lesson more about, you know, just respecting everyone. That, you know, it doesn't matter who you are. People are good people.
Yeah. I guess one of the gripes you could have is that they didn't hire any gay or trans actors to play any of these parts.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, that could be one of the things where it's like, when you have a character like Hank Azaria, it's like, oh, well, like, is it weird to have a straight man play that flamboyant of a gay character as a stereotype when you could have just casted a gay man who is more than willing to play that part?
I wonder if you were gay and got cast and they're like, no, be more flamboyant. No, be more gay.
That's what I mean, where it's like you have a casting call and you know, like, because I mean, like, on the gambit of people, there are people that exist like that, and that's why I don't think Hank Azaria's character is offensive, because that is a type of person.
Exactly, yeah.
But that's what I'm kind of saying, is that if that is a type of person, that's for sure a type of actor, and it's for sure a guy who probably would have been willing to just do that job. But I don't know if I necessarily submit to that idea, because I do believe in that acting is acting. You're not playing yourself ever. That's the point of acting. So, like, it's okay to play a different, like, I don't know. It gets iffy when you start touching on, like, oh, Scarlett Johansson played an Asian woman. Okay. That's kind of weird. You know, it's like...
But Robert Downey Jr. playing a black man.
But that's the joke, and it's hilarious. That's one of the funniest...
It is hilarious.
I like how he has been able to dodge the fucking cancellation from that movie is insane.
What do you mean, you people? What do you mean, you people? That's one of my favorite lines. That is, I'm the dude disguised as a dude playing another dude.
That's not even the worst part of that movie. The Simple Jack part is probably the worst part of that movie.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. The Simple Jack part is definitely the thing that aged the worst.
The only thing I think that makes Simple Jack not cancelable is that you can kind of just go, it's a Forrest Gump parody. Are you saying Forrest Gump is insensitive? Or is it, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
All right, where are you going to land on this movie? 10 out of 10? You're going to...
Yeah, I'm keeping it at 10.
I think I might make this a 9. I think because, like, yeah, I want to revisit this movie. I want to watch it again. I really like the comedy, the scenes, the outfits, the set designs, the cinematography, the VFX.
It was a fun movie. The music. I mean, it starts with "We Are Family." It was all the best '90s party music. It's such a fun movie.
Oh, yeah.
This is a movie that I could honestly watch this again tomorrow and I would still laugh at it. That's why at the end of the day that I have to give it a 10 is it's held up for so long and beyond the movie. There's so much depth to this, and I think it's something that I would love for it to get more mainstream attention, because I don't think it did as much as it could. And
it doesn't
I think
feel
with
like
things
it.
like social media now, I think if the next generation saw this, I would love to see their reaction to that beginning 20 minutes of like, oh, what kind of movie is this going to be? Mm-hmm. Because
even with the dance number, it doesn't necessarily let you know whether or not, like, oh, because you know what it could have been? It could have been I Now Pronounce You Chuck and Larry. That's what I was afraid that this was going to be.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think that's what I Now Pronounce You Chuck and Larry thinks that they did. You know, part of me wonders if they saw a movie like this and thought that they were, like, making a movie for gay people. And it's like, no, you didn't at all. And I will say, we are two straight male, I'm white, cisgender, you are
Yep.
Mexican cisgender, so Hispanic cisgender. So I don't want to speak, but I can say, according to gay Reddit, this movie is not offensive. Because I had to look it up. I was
Oh,
very,
really?
because again, like I know how I feel, but also I'm not gay, so I can't really tell you
That's
if
fair, yeah.
I'm offended or not. You know what I mean? Like, it's not really my place to say whether or not this is offensive. It's sad and it feels ignorant, but it is kind of one of those things where someone every once in a while who is in that position has to let people know, like, hey, this is offensive. I know you think it's funny because you're not in this lifestyle and you don't understand.
Yeah.
That's offensive. I was really afraid that this might have been one of those. And I was like, am I just missing something? Because it's like, I'm not feeling offended, but there's a chance.
But yeah, it's not targeting me. So is that the only reason why?
Yeah, apparently
What
no.
was the feedback online?
So there was a couple posts on like this r/ like ask gay bros and like r/ ask the gays and stuff like that. And there's people being like, hey, I just watched the Birdcage and I'm having mixed feelings. Is this offensive? And like 99% of the comments were just like, it's hilarious, it's great, there's just actors, it's not offensive. Like, a few people did say like, Hank Azaria kind of goes a little far, but it's still just so fucking funny that it's okay. Like, he still plays it great. So yeah, no, this is gay Reddit approved, so I can say that. I can say that.
GRA.
Yeah, that's right. All right, so I believe it is my turn to suggest a movie.
Yep, that is correct.
So actually, this movie reminded me of another movie that I had seen snippets of growing up, but actually have never seen. So this will be a double first time watch for us.
Ooh,
Yeah.
some double virgin action.
Yeah. So the movie is called Brazil. It stars.
That's the country.
Yeah, oh shit! Hold on, I might have them confused. Oh, I'm sorry. It's Training Day. No, I'm just kidding. I always get the movie
Saving
Training
Private
Day
Ryan
and the country Brazil confused. That's my bad. That's my bad. No, it's called Brazil. It has Robert De Niro in it. I believe it's from like the late 70s, 1985. And it's apparently like a very crazy, wacky, trippy fucking... I hate to say it, and I feel like you already know where the direction I'm going with this, but it's been compared
Oh no.
to a certain
Southland Tales. Don't say Southland Tales.
movie starring Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson.
Oh no.
No, okay,
I'm
so
gonna have a bad day.
hear me out. It's the movie that people said that Southland Tales thought it was. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Okay, like there was a well done way, and Southland Tales is like, I could do that, but they couldn't do it.
yes,
Gotcha,
the same
okay.
way I was saying Larry. I now pronounce you Chuck and Larry.
It's like the way that couldn't do. Yeah.
Birdcage. Yeah, this is that where I've heard people say that this was Southland Tales trying to do Brazil and it didn't work. So get ready for a kind of weird, trippy, absurdist type of film. You know.
You know what's super funny? When the original stage play, the Birdcage, came out, the comedians that had written it and had adapted it from the original that they saw, they're both two straight men.
Yeah.
And
I read about that. Yeah, the original cast.
Yeah, they had a friend who was a famous a gay. I don't know if he was an actor or comedian, but he had actually like kind of wrote them off and was really disappointed when he heard what they were going to do, along with a lot of people. Like they actually got a lot of backlash because they thought it was going to be gay bashing. And yeah, then everybody was like, huh, that was actually really good.
Yeah. I mean, I get it, you know, because it does, upon first knee-jerk reaction, when you hear the plot and just that's kind of how you feel. You're just like, oh, no, that's not a good idea. You shouldn't do that, you know. But it is done really well. It's like they really did pull it off.
Yeah, I can't recommend this enough if you haven't seen it and you're a listener. If there was a movie I'd recommend just because it is fantastic, a great message.
Yeah.
This would be the movie to see.
Oh, and because I did want to make one more little point. Sorry, that
oh yeah.
that what had me a little thrown off at first, it's not a big deal because I mean the association is like it is pretty close of a Venn diagram. Let's be honest there, but not all drag queens are gay. That's not like there are
Also
a lot.
true, yeah.
There are very many straight drag queens that just enjoy the art of burlesque.
Is that what like cross-dressing is?
I think it's just drag. You know what I mean?
okay.
Like I think you know what I mean. It's just that's considered the art form of drag. You know, and at least if it's done on stage and with, I think that's what specifically.
I got you.
Cross-dressing is, I think, if you enjoy
Just wearing the
out in public,
opposite.
You know what I
Gotcha,
mean? Even out in public and stuff. So yeah, I there was a moment early on in the movie where I was like, is every single person who does drag also gay? Because that's not technically accurate. It could be, and especially once you're like, oh, they're in South Beach, Miami. It's like, oh, okay, okay, I gotcha. But yeah, there was that stereotype at the beginning, at first, that I was like, oh, that's kind of been disproven that all drag queens are gay. You know, like, it's an inherently gay thing, and like, yes,
Right.
it is strongly driven by the gay community, and it is a way, you know, but they're not the same thing. You know, especially like even trans and drag, totally different things, you know, like, and that's a misunderstanding. Like, I could see a lot of people touting this as like a trans movie when it really isn't. Like, I mean,
No.
you could argue that maybe Nathan Lane's character is kind of like a maybe closeted trans because he considers himself a woman. He wants people to call him her and things like that. But that's really all they dive into. They don't really go deeper than that. And they have that moment where Robin Williams is like, you're a man, you know, and like that worried me a little bit, but it was fine. It was fine. The way, the context, everything that it was fine.
And it's because Nathan Lane's character goes, you don't understand me because you're a man and I'm a woman. And that's why Robin Williams goes, you're a man.
Yeah. It's when you try to throw out accusations of you don't understand how I feel when it's like, come on, like you grew up in the same, like, yeah. Like,
he's like, I am also a gay man.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, that was my last point. Yeah, I'm going to land on a 9 out of 10. So next week, if you guys do not want to be spoiled for Brazil, make sure to check that movie out.
Which I think my prediction is it's like Southland Tales, but it's done better. That's what I'm gonna guess.
Why don't you actually tell me what one of the characters is gonna do in this movie? What's his drive? Like, what does he want to get done? The main plot.
I think one of these characters wants to be wants to be remembered. He wants to be recognized. He maybe doesn't feel that, you know, he doesn't have the life he deserves. So he's going to take a big risk. He's going to do something very risky, but if it pays off, the payout is great. But of course, there's going to be a hijink and things are going to get a little crazy.
Hey, you can't get the biscuit without the risk it. You know what I'm saying? Dude, I get what you're saying. To be honest, I haven't seen this either, so I have no fucking idea. But
I forgot about that.
Yeah, you could be 100% correct. Yeah. No, this will be a fun one. I'm glad to talk about one we both haven't seen. So, all right. Thank you guys for joining us in this episode of the Neon Valley Media Club. And fuck you. We'll see you in the next one.
And follow us on shit. You know the links.
Yeah, I'm not going to say it again. I'm not going to say it again.
He's not going to say it again.